A lot of people see me as different things. Some of you guys see me as coach at AWA that's coached you in camps or practice. Some of you guys see me as the guy on Instagram and YouTube that makes funny but sometimes informational and actually helpful videos. Some of you see me as your teammate in college, your teammate on the Wisconsin national team in high school. A lot of people know me from different avenues, but basically this is my wrestling journey and everything I've learned all the way from when I was a little kid, all the way up till where I am now as a coach. I've grown over that time through injuries, struggles, winning, losing, now helping kids achieve their dreams to trying to achieve my dreams. So we'll start out when I was a young kid. When I was a very, very young kid, I honestly didn't take much from 4 years old until 8th grade-ish. I didn't take much out of the sport outside of my friends did it. I really liked it. I enjoyed it. I, was a rough kid. And I enjoyed fighting, right? Not like fighting, but in the aspect of wrestling, I enjoyed being one-on-one with a person and trying to physically dominate them, right? I enjoyed that. Me and my brothers wrestled all the time at home. Me and my friends wrestled at school. We did, it's been a part of my life forever. I will say the takeaways that I have now from my youth, I focused too much on winning at a young age, not enough on learning, and I probably went too hard. And that's not saying that whoever was coaching me did it wrong or did it right, or that my parents pushed me too hard or anything like that. I really don't think I was pushed too hard as a kid. I grew up very hardworking, right? And that was instilled in me from a young age. So it's not that I was pushed too hard. I just think the focus was too much on winning and not enough on the process of learning wrestling and possibly like enjoying it and stuff like that. I mean, I obviously enjoyed it a lot, like I just said. So it's not that I was pushed too hard where I didn't enjoy it or anything like that. I didn't have to deal with that. But I do think that, there is a lot of emphasis on winning. And when I was a young kid, I was a really, really bad loser because of that. And so anytime that I lost, I hated it. And I think that affected my relationship with the sport as a little kid. Not in like a super negative way towards the sport where I hated the sport, but more in an aspect of like I couldn't handle losing and the only way I had fun was winning. And obviously that's not 100% controllable. You lose a lot as a little kid, especially when you're trying to get better at wrestling. And so I would say that if I could take away one thing was work hard. I'm appreciative of the hard work that I did when I was little, but don't put a whole bunch of emphasis on winning. From 8th grade, 9th grade until 12th grade, there was a different jump that I learned a lot from. Just what you focus on is what you're going to get, right? So the grass is greener where you water it, not the grass is greener on the other side, right? I think around 8th grade, I started wrestling year round and went to practice, 12 months out of the year, and really chose like wrestling's what I wanted to do. But I wasn't like ultra focused in practice. I would show up every single day, and this hard work that I had instilled in me from a young age, I was working really, really hard in practice. I always prided myself, probably because my parents said this a lot, was, be the hardest worker in the room, so to me, that meant physically exhausting myself every single night. But that also doesn't always mean that every single rep I'm trying to get better on, right? If I hit a bunch of reps, a whole bunch of quantity of reps, in my mind, I was like, oh, I got a lot better. And then when live came, go as hard as you can, wrestle freaking balls to the walls, right? And that would get you better, which it does to a certain extent. But I think you hit a ceiling while doing that. And then that ceiling, it's really, really hard to break through because you don't know how to drill properly. You don't know, strategies in live to get you better. You're not introducing new stuff into your wrestling. You can't spar because you're so focused on working hard, and during a spar, that's not really what you need all the time. And so it was like I lacked focus on technique and actually trying to better my wrestling, probably from 8th grade till right around junior year. And then I really started working a lot with Ben Askren, private lessons, and then also just like paying a lot more attention in practice. And he kind of put it in front of my face. I've told this story before, but it was like, hey, if I want to get to where I'm going, I need to focus up in practice. I was showing up right on time at practice. I wasn't doing anything extra. I wasn't really asking questions during practice. And then also, like I said, I was, so focused on the quantity of reps and not the quality of reps that I honestly wasn't getting a much better. And all the mistakes that I was making, I was still making consistently throughout my wrestling. So I started focusing on the process and how can I get better, not necessarily how hard am I working, right? And because I love the sport, I worked hard. And so like that almost comes with focusing on the process and focusing on getting better is you're going to work hard because you want to do it. Hard work is really, really easy when it's something that you want to do. Hard work really, really sucks when it's something that you don't want to do. And so I wanted to get better at wrestling. And so therefore I focused on the technique, and this hard work automatically came with it because of what I got instilled when I was a young kid, right? But also because I loved wrestling. Like, hard work was easy. It was the focusing on the technique portion that was hard for me. And I'm sure it's different for every single kid. There could be kids that don't work very hard, but they're really, really focused on the technique. And so maybe they lack in, they know what to do, but they have a hard time physically going out and doing it because they're not like hard enough workers, or they don't like push hard enough, which is, I think, probably where parents would say all their kids are, where it's actually probably the opposite. The kid probably wrestles really, really hard, but they can't focus on technique. And it wasn't anyone's fault. It was just that information wasn't provided to me until around my junior year in a way that I could understand it. It was probably provided to me just in a way that I thought differently about it. I'm a really big advocate for framing stuff in your own words so you can understand it better. Then when I got to college, in high school, I really, really struggled with injuries. And in college, that got even worse. And so in college, I learned how important diet is, how important recovery is, how important taking care of your body is, and really focusing on every single thing in your life and making sure that everything you do is towards this goal that you want to achieve. And it's not just in the wrestling room, right? 24/7 is how you get better at wrestling and how you become the best, not 2 hours a day in the practice room. And so, I had 3 shoulder surgeries. I now have a hip surgery. My knees are pretty banged up, and I also have a bulging disc in my back. So it's like I have a lot of injuries and stuff like that. And so there's a lot of time that I was recovering. I want to say from, pretty much my freshman year of high school until the last year I wrestled, there wasn't really a full year that I went where I was completely healthy. And so it was really, really hard to get better. I would hit these big jumps when I was wrestling, and then I would have to take 6 months off for an injury. And then I would either plateau there, or I would, obviously regress because I'm not practicing for 6 months. And so it really taught me how important it is to take care of your body, but also how important it is to do techniques right, because that's why I was getting hurt, was because I wasn't doing stuff right. And so it was like, my shoulders became really bad because I wasn't setting up my shots properly, and I was just really being a bulldog down there and hanging on, which is great. It's like a really good attribute to have. Like, I had a lot of fight in me, but it cost me my body later on. And so, I really learned the lesson of your diet and recovery. But also in college, I learned that, just how to love the sport in a different way as well. Like I said, I probably put too much emphasis on winning, and that carried on throughout my life. And then my last year in college, I really became grateful for the sport, and was just like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to put it on the line. And, the success is my effort going into the match, not really the outcome. If I go out and put my best foot forward and wrestle the match that I think is going to help me win the most, right, and put my best effort forward, that's going to be a successful job right there. Well done. That doesn't take the hurt away from losing, but it does, it makes myself be able to look myself in the mirror and be like, what, I put everything I had into this. I'm okay with that loss. I'll just keep getting better. And now that I'm a coach, the biggest things that I've learned is, man, when you're a little kid, you got to be a good parent to your little kid. You got to be a dad before coach, or mom before coach. And you just got to, help this kid, whether it's girl, boy, it don't matter. You just have to push them forward and support them. You need to be there for support more than anything. Now, if you are their coach, right, now you have to juggle that balance between being a dad and being their coach. And I think that's a really, really hard thing to juggle. But I think you're always a dad or a mom before you're the coach. And you guys have to put that first, because I see a lot of parents' relationships with their son or daughter, and then their relationship with wrestling all getting intermixed, and it gets messy and stuff like that. And I don't think it's a super healthy thing to have. And so it's like, realize that you're a parent before you're a coach, and always put the parent relationship first, because you're going to be a parent for your entire life. You're only going to be a coach for a certain time in your life, some longer than others, some shorter than others. And so I think that's a really, really great relationship to have, is keep that parent relationship strong and just support them in whatever they want to do. I think that goes for everything, even outside of wrestling and stuff like that. But also just don't, let your kid choose when they want to work, and not necessarily like when they want to go to practice and stuff. Because, you probably let your kid choose if they want to play Fortnite or go to practice, they probably pick Fortnite most of the time. So it's like, you have to still instill good values in them. But at the same time, it's like, if they don't really want to like really dive into wrestling and you want them to become the best wrestler in the world, that's just not going to work out. And so it's like, you have to kind of play on their schedule of like, hey, this is something I really want to do. And then it's like, okay, help them out in any way that you can. But if they're still like on the fence about it, you just kind of got to let them ride that fence, as frustrating as it might be. I know you put a lot of time and effort in and probably money into the sport, but it's like, at the same time, if they don't have a good relationship with the sport, all that time and money is wasted anyway, even though no matter how hard you push them. And so it's like, making sure that they have a good relationship with the sport and a good relationship with you is a lot more important than their success at an early age. And then when they, start getting around that 7th, 8th grade, they can start taking their own abilities into their own hands and picking whether or not they want to put time into the sport. Being a coach, I really saw an impact that I could have on the kids from how they view the sport and how they look at the sport. I've kind of found multiple kids where it's like, maybe they weren't 100% into the sport. They liked it. They worked hard. They wrestled hard. There were kids that came into practice and they were fun to coach and stuff like that. But I kind of showed them a different way to love the sport. And now it's like they're 100% in and that's all they want to do. And I really appreciate that being a coach. But, I think it helped them see a different side of the sport that maybe they hadn't seen before. And they're like, man, this is something that I really love and really want to do. And so I'm appreciative that I get to be a part of that journey. So that's kind of my story a little bit. That's everything I learned from, being a kindergartner all the way up to where I am now. There's obviously more in there, more to unpack. I could probably, unpack each time section, but I'm already at 12 minutes and 20 seconds on this video and there's not much to edit out. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something for it, whether you're a wrestler or a parent or a coach watching this. I hope you enjoyed it.